One question I get asked a bunch is, should drummers learn how to read music? Well, let's talk about that. I'm going to break this up into two things. One is it necessary? And the other is, does it help improve my drumming? So is it necessary? Well, that kind of depends on your situation. For example, sometimes it's necessary for me because there are some gigs where it requires being able to read to get the job done, especially when it comes to reading down charts that you've never played before, or maybe learning an arrangement with a band. And if you plan on playing gigs like musicals or orchestras or a big band, you definitely have to read for those. Now, I don't play as much of those gigs anymore, but playing those kinds of gigs when I was younger connected me with other musicians who kept calling me for more lucrative gigs. So here's a scenario. What if you get a call to sub in a wedding band? They offer you like $500 for 1 hour of work. All you have to do is show up and read down the charts that they have for their arrangements. Maybe if you're just trying to learn by ear, you could ask them, do you have any recordings? And most of the time they will say no. Or they say, well, there's a couple of clips of certain parts of songs on Instagram stories or whatever. Well, if you can't read, then an easy paycheck just turned into a missed opportunity. So if you're a younger drummer, or if you're a drummer who wants to turn this into a career, then knowing how to read pretty well will open a lot of doors for you. And that will lead you to playing with more people who will call you more often, and you just kind of keep leveling up that way. Another thing is the language of music that comes from understanding notation. Communicating with other members of the band, if you all know how this works, makes things so much easier. It's like having a shortcut to instantly understanding something very specific. Something like, hey, on measure 7 of the B section, let's all try doing a hit on the E of beat 2. That's the fastest way to express such a specific concept. On the other hand, not all gigs are like that. You can definitely make a good living without ever reading a note, and you can totally find ways to communicate with other people without using all the jargon and stuff. Now for the second thing, is it helpful to improve your playing as a drummer? I think that's a big yes. Now, you can learn everything there is to know about drums without reading, but it'll probably take you a lot longer. Especially if you're a beginner or intermediate player. Having a good ear is the most important tool for every musician, but being able to visualize what you're playing is also a really important tool, especially when you're learning something like independence or exercises. Learning how to use all 4 limbs at the same time while looking at what you're doing is like building something with the instruction manual. Sure, you can figure it out on your own, but these concepts aren't new. You can get pretty far, pretty fast just using the book Syncopation. But you have to know what all the shapes mean. When learning an exercise, instead of learning it by ear and potentially getting something wrong like the sticking, which would completely defeat the whole purpose of playing the exercise, you can just read it and understand what you're trying to do before you even play the first note. If you watch my videos, you know that I always put the music on the screen because it makes it so much clearer what I'm trying to convey. I explain it too, but having the music there for those who can read it makes it a lot easier. That's why I always include free PDF downloads in the description as well, so you can keep practicing the concept without having to keep watching my video. Even though, if you keep watching the video, that'd be great for me. Another thing is compiling rates and patterns. To have a full rhythmic vocabulary to play whatever we want at any point, we have to know all the different variations of 16th notes and triplets and fivelets, pretty much every way that we can fill the space in between 2 beats. And again, you can learn all that by ear, but why limit yourself to probably taking longer when you can just read them, It organizes all that knowledge into one space, which is nice. A singer could definitely write all their lyrics in their head and then just memorize it that way, but wouldn't it be easier to write them down and look at them? And I'm not saying that you should write down everything you want to play so you can read it, but when learning concepts and expanding your abilities, having the basic tool of being able to read makes the process so much faster. Because the other thing is, learning how to read effectively is pretty easy. You could probably figure it all out in less than an hour. If you're interested in my process for how I simplify teaching how to read music to all my students, let me know and I'll make a video about that. So this video is pretty different from what I usually do. I was just kind of answering a question in my opinion. I didn't even play a note. But if you like this sort of thing, subscribe, leave a comment. Also in the description, there's a link to my website where you can sign up for lessons with me if you're into that kind of thing. There's also a link to my Instagram where I have some behind the scenes of my professional drumming life. And there's a link to my music. All right, see ya.